2014, Canada signed a $14 billion deal with Saudi Arabia to provide light armored vehicles. These look like tanks. They're wheeled, they're armored personnel carriers, troop carriers, and they're mounted with massive cannons. If anyone were to see one driving down the street, no one would call it, as Justin Trudeau did, a Jeep. It's clearly a tank. And it's an important tool for the Saudis in their desert fight, particularly along their border with Yemen, which over the past 5 years of the war between the Saudis and the Houthis in Yemen, which has effectively turned into a civil war. At this point, the troop carriers have played a leading role. Of course, it's an air war. It's defined as an air war. The troops on the ground are minimal, and the Saudis and Americans underwriting the Saudis and the UAE are carrying out literally hundreds of thousands of sorties over Yemen and have been for 5 years now. But the light armored vehicles are an important part of the war in that they move troops to the front. And so we have seen in a number of videos published by Houthi guerrillas and by Houthi news organizations photographs of burning Canadian light armored vehicles in Yemen. We've seen pictures of, Houthi rebels in desert sandals and ghillie suits climbing all over the trucks. We've seen them drive off in the trucks. And of course, it's not just light armored vehicles, as Anthony will talk about later in the show. There's a number of components to this Saudi-Canadian arms deal. But just to put it in perspective, Saudi Arabia, a country with a population similar to Canada's, 30-odd million, is the world's largest purchaser of weapons. And the number one supplier is the United States. In the past 2 years of this light armored vehicle deal, Canada's number 2. So Saudi is the number 1 importer in the world, and Canada's the number 2 supplier to Saudi Arabia. And just to give you a sense of what this scale of Saudi arms purchases in the last decade, this has really been the last decade that the Saudis have turned this up. They are in first place since 2010 to 2018. They are in first place in the world in arms procurement. And they are more than double the rate of China, which is number 2, and even more than double the rate of India, which is number 3. So you have countries combining for 3 billion people spending on weapons what Saudi Arabia, a country of 34-odd million, spends. So you get a real idea of what the purpose of arming a country to this degree is, because historically Saudis tended to play a more sideline role in the machinations of empire, but